the City by global startup hub CNX. I'm Lily Bruns, and today we're at Weave Artisan Society learning about Chiang Mai creative industries. We're so excited to introduce you to the founders who are creating awesome and exciting tech and marketing projects that make Chiang Mai a wonderful creative place to live. Let us know who you are and what you do in this fine city of Chiang Mai.
So I'm one of the co-founders of, we're here with Artisan Society, and I would say, I would describe Weave, I think the best way to describe Weave is we are a creative hub that trying to connect local craft, local culture with a new audience.
Yeah.
And this new audience could range from, let's say, a group of people who may not be interested in craft before, to even traveler, tourists coming to Chiang Mai and who are interested to access or engage with the local craft community.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do with Weave is to review and unravel some of the stories behind the people that create the craft. And in doing so, we hope that we can increase the value of craft in Chiang Mai.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I want to start by talking about like space itself, right? Because you're an architect by training, right?
My main job is actually architect.
Yeah, but that with this space, right? You've used this space to, and you have this vision of what you want to bring into it. So you've got like a cafe, you've got room for people to co-work, you've got like a bar, you host workshops, events, parties have happened here, right? So many things
wish
under one roof.
Right? Someone wish you can. Yeah.
Hey, it's part of what drives creativity in the city, right? Is social connections. So talk to me about the importance of space and using space to bring people together or create a vision.
Okay, so it's this idea of we want to create a platform and a hub that allow everybody to participate. We don't belong to one subgenre or belong to this, or, we want to create a space that's open and accessible for everybody.
Yeah. Creativity is often the intersection of like different ideas and thoughts and disciplines, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we were chatting before we came on camera about sort of the diversity of Chiang Mai, right? Like for a small town, it's actually got a quite cosmopolitan in many ways, and we have so many people from different parts of Thailand and also like all over the world. And I think you yourself have a very international background. So what do you think about Chiang Mai and how it brings together different influences or different types of people?
I definitely agree on that, Lee, because I think Chiang Mai, even though the city of Chiang Mai is tiny, I think this idea of 6 degrees of separation in Chiang Mai is only 2.
Yeah.
You will know someone else that you never met before from just one other friend, or it's a tiny city.
Yeah.
But somehow the scale of it allow the inhabitants, especially in the creative field, feel really cosmopolitan. Having a coffee, drinking a coffee in Niman, you could be somewhere in Europe, you could be somewhere in the States. You don't feel like you are in Thailand sometimes. But at the same time, you walk around the corner and there's a temple. There's it's a really interesting juxtaposition, I think, for Chiang Mai. And I think it's not how Chiang Mai is a creative city. It's not down to one element. I would say there are many things because of the culture. People say that Chiang Mai is a slow city, and in general, I would agree in general. And I think for creative industry to work is a luxury. Time,
Yes.
Time to think, time to design, to let that process to take place. And of course, the food, the culture, so all these things I think help Chiang Mai to be a creative city. The creative industry has to be creative.
Yeah.
But at the same time, collectively, we never work alone, and that's the idea of weave. This idea of if it's a single strand, it's weak. But when you put all the strand together, when you weave it together, it becomes a piece of fabric. It becomes a piece of cloth, which is much, much stronger. So when we work, we are always 100% working with a partner, working with 2, even 3, 4 different other artisans or craftsmen in the city.
You're an architect, so people hire you for your skills and talents to build their projects. You're an entrepreneur. You and your wife, started this space. You've recently become involved in a new restaurant concept. You also lecture at the university, right? So you connect with people in the city, many different types of communities, right? So what's something that you can share about what it's like to work with people in Chiang Mai? What's it like to be part of the creative community here?
Well, I think, interestingly, I think Chiang Mai has a lot of architects. But before I came to Chiang Mai, it was not my intention to actually stay in Chiang Mai for a long period of time. But somehow, when I came to Chiang Mai, and I had a friend here who also is an architect, and then he introduced me to other architects, and then I slowly realized, oh wow, actually Chiang Mai have a lot of architects. I think Chiang Mai has a lot of creative people, whether it's artists, architects. People say Chiang Mai is the cultural hub of Thailand, even I would say, and I would definitely agree with that. And for me, what makes the community work in Chiang Mai is because I think also it's back to this idea of scale. The city is quite small, so when we have a lot of events, you always tend to meet the same people, have those interesting conversations, and also I think people are just so outgoing and friendly in the city and approachable. Sometimes you go to one meeting, you talk about one project, and then you walk out with 2 other projects because oh, I know that, I know so and so, or I'm also interested, I can do that and that. So there's a lot of interconnectedness going on in the city. There's a very strong spirit, if I may use the word. There's a very strong community spirit in Chiang Mai in terms of, people like to help each other out. Share the idea of sharing collectively. I have some work, and I feel that talking with other architects, other designers, people like to collaborate. People like to, and I think this is something Chiang Mai has the creative community in Chiang Mai is very strong with this idea of collaboration, this idea of joining hands and working together. So I think that's something I think other creative hubs, not only in Thailand but around the world, can learn something from. Often as architect, having worked in back home in London, in Singapore, we are quite, let's say, sometimes I would even say quite egocentric. This idea, I'm the designer, I have the sole control. But actually, I think I think also that's changing. This idea of design should be more democratic. Design should be more open as a table for people to participate. So again, back to this concept of weave, that we allow other people to inject their idea, inject their know-how. Because we believe by sharing, by working together, it only makes the project and the product stronger and better.
So it's like changing the narrative from like the artist as a lone genius to actually the artist as an enabler of their community, right?
It's a participatory process.
You mentioned a little bit about your background and where you've worked before, right? Can you tell us a little bit about your professional journey and your journeys around the world?
It's a long journey. So it's but very fast. So I mean, I grew up in London. Actually, I was born in China, but I moved to London when I was about 9 years old, 8, 9 years old, and I kind of grew up in London. I studied architecture in London, and then after I graduated, I just felt an urge to go explore, because London can be a little bit exhausting. You can tell me about that.
It's fun and exciting, but it's big, right?
It's quite exhausting. It's like, okay, maybe it's time to try some other things. And then I ended up in Singapore for a little bit of time, and then somehow found myself in Thailand, in Chiang Mai actually. And so I first started working with an office called A49 in Chiang Mai. We were working on a project in Myanmar, ครับ and then at the same time actually my main job beside with my main job is teaching in CMU.
Yeah.
So I'm taking care of the international. I'm helping them. The first 5 years I was doing the Thai program, so I have to force myself to learn Thai because of course when I first come to that I cannot พูดอะไรไม่ได้เลย ไม่ได้เลย but I have to learn Thai, which is great way to learn Thai because you have the students sometimes they're quite shy to speak English. So it forced me to learn Thai. So for the first 5 years I was teaching the local Thai program.
Yeah.
And then after that, we saw more students coming from interested to come to study architecture from outside Thailand. So we decided to set up an international program called IDEA. So that's now been running for the last 4 years.
You obviously have a very strong passion and vision for what you do, right? What is your vision or hope for Chiang Mai as a creative city?
What we really love to see, I would say, is that when people associate Chiang Mai in particular about its craft and design, maybe I have to backtrack a little bit because, like what I said earlier, I think the perception of the value of craft in relation to Chiang Mai at the moment, we feel is undervalued. For example, when we first started doing the R&D for Weave, we do a lot of interviews, ask people about what do you think about craft in Chiang Mai, and we feel people associate craft in terms of the context of craft as quite low value. Go to the walking street, which is actually just around here, around the corner. Something 50 baht, 70 baht, 80 baht, quite mass.
Yeah.
Why should I pay 500 baht or 5,000 baht instead I can get it for 50 baht? So I think people don't understand, or right now they don't necessarily get to engage with the story of the maker, of the craftsman. So our hope for Weave is in the future when people think about Chiang Mai, when people think about craft, when people think about what people do here in Chiang Mai, they also think about the people. They also think about the stories behind the product because it's those stories that really that give value to the product. So they don't just think about something that is just worth 50 baht, but they think about, hey, who's that uncle that made this plate? Who's that carpenter that created this chair? And they think about their livelihood. They think about their wisdom. They think about their knowledge. Then maybe, just maybe in the future, they're willing to spend that 5,000 baht or even higher. Because I truly believe Chiang Mai has a world-class craft and production ecosystem. In fact, not many people know a lot of top-end, high-end fashion houses in Europe have their factory and craft studio in Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I only know this from talking to doing the research on Weave. Some of the most well-known brands from France, from Italy, have their studios in Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
Wow, how? Nobody know about these type of things.
So it's like the craftsmanship and the production skills are here, but we just need the storytelling skills, right? The marketing skills, as it were.
I mean, that is such an important point you touch upon because a lot of the skills that the local community, creative community do, but sometimes they don't even recognize what they do has that value.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to reveal that story, but it's also important to collaborate and somehow let the local creative community to acknowledge what they do has a lot of value.
Yeah. You throw a rock anywhere in Chiang Mai and there's someone doing something creative and amazing, right? It's just everywhere.
Yeah, and you walk out the door, opposite there's an uncle. He just knocking this massive piece of copper into incredible sculptures.
Yeah.
But then if he's not out there, you walk past, you have no idea he's a national artist. He's a national artist, but he's just there working away and so the idea goes back. So how do we tell these stories?
Yeah.
How can we allow people outside Chiang Mai to appreciate what they do. This is something that we are constantly striving to achieve.
Please introduce yourself and what you're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Nabil. I am from the United States and Chile, and I've lived in Chiang Mai for a few years. I've studied a range of topics in my academic career. I was studying psychology and human behavior. And then I got interested in a field called knowledge management and how people acquired expertise and shared knowledge and learning with one another. And then most recently, I studied an MBA with a specialization in entrepreneurship. And after that, that kind of brought me to Chiang Mai. I had a long career in high-tech industries. I worked in Silicon Valley in California, the UK, Houston, Texas, and Australia. And now I'm venturing into something new. I'm creating interactive and immersive spaces.
Yeah.
And what that means simply is it's kind of like VR, like a VR virtual reality experience, but without any of the technology. You don't have to wear the glasses, but can enjoy the benefits of VR around us.
Yeah.
And so we're hoping to design different types of art and creativity that is not just game-like, but can also facilitate meaningful conversations and insights.
Yeah, so when we think about how a city like Chiang Mai is connected to the rest of the world, right? In that context, maybe, what do you think Chiang Mai offers then as a creative city?
You know, that's pretty much what brought me to Chiang Mai. I've traveled to about nearly 40 countries, beautiful cities all over the world, and I kept coming back to Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
It captured me, and part of it was what Chiang Mai offered. You know, it has many things that big cities have, but it has the vibes of a small city.
Yeah.
And yet it still has other things that big cities don't have, like incredible nature. You know, we are in the heart of the CBD, in the central area of Chiang Mai right now, but we can be hitting up a waterfall in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And very few cities can have that opportunity. And I think Chiang Mai is constantly drawing inspiration from the nature.
Yeah.
The nature is extremely vibrant in Chiang Mai. For example, the sakura flowers that bloom for a week or two in January, and then all the trees start to light up with colors, yellow, blue, pink, red, and it's just a giant rainbow of just colors.
Yeah.
We have the Flowers Festival, and then we have festivals with lanterns going up into space, lighting up, you know, like looks like fireflies.
Yeah.
And so one thing that makes Chiang Mai unique, though, is that we have all of that, and yet we still have one of the fastest internets in the world.
Yeah.
Like I talk. Very useful. I talk to some of my friends and family in the United States, and I still have speeds here, you know, in our jungle city that are like 10 times, 20 times faster than they're ever going to get, which makes collaboration with anybody very easy.
Yeah, I think I've often joked, you know, when I was living in New York, you're living in one of the most modern cities in the world, but like your cell phone coverage is terrible. I just literally said, like, I get better cell phone coverage in the jungle in Thailand, and it's actually true.
Yeah. And so that's also opened up a range of opportunities. I've been able to find very creative and innovative spaces in the jungle. You know, some of my favorite coffee shops are out there all throughout the mountains. I can link up my laptop and my cell phone and boom, have amazing coverage and get my work done.
Yeah, I think when you're an entrepreneur and a creator and you want to like make something new happen out of nowhere, right? It's important to find inspiration, and also I think to manage your own energy, right? So that's one of the big advantages of Chiang Mai is how it lends itself to finding that work-life balance a little bit more and like living flexibly, right?
Absolutely. I used to work for a marketing digital agency, and we were constantly under the gun.
Yeah.
We always had deadlines. and we got a lot of really cool stuff done. But at the same time, it didn't lend a lot of freedom to explore what the city had to offer.
Yeah.
You know, there's different types of artistic and creative performances, places opening up, and all of these inspire. You know, people bring from their imagination creations into this world, and then it's kind of our job to go and share it with people. And Chiang Mai allows for that.
Yeah.
You know, we get our work done from either 9 to 5 or maybe 3 hours or maybe 12 hours. But then we can enjoy life too. We have some incredible restaurants. We can visit a park every day. When I lived in other cities, we had to save a lot of the fun stuff for the weekend.
Yeah.
And here I feel like I don't have to accommodate that. I can have fun stuff every day.
Yeah, it's definitely nice. But what's like a creative side of Chiang Mai that's maybe a little bit more hidden that people who haven't been here might not know about?
Yeah, so I would say that scattered throughout Chiang Mai are really innovative cafes. And I think we have one of the most mature and incredible cafe experiences.
Yeah.
More so than any other city, or at least rivals those of other cities. And I've been to, you know, I'm talking about like New York and San Francisco and Paris and London, and they all have great coffee cultures. But they don't have like a situation where you can have your coffee in the middle of a river.
Yeah.
or have a coffee, but your feet are dangling in the air looking at a sea of fog.
Yeah.
You know, an ocean of fog just going by. And these are all incredible experiences.
Yeah.
We can and I think that's one of the hidden aspects of Chiang Mai is there's so many boutiques and hidden resorts and hotels and restaurants and shopping centers that are just scattered throughout. And they're always surprising me. There's a lot of people that are very talented with creativity and the arts. You know, many are professionally trained. We have many universities here with engineers and artists and communications experts.
Yeah.
And we have many people that are self-taught. And they have incredible talents. And it shows in the marketplaces and the places that they create.
Coffee is like the fuel for creativity, the fuel for work. And our coffee shops are also interesting spaces, right? Where people come for the experience, but people also come for like interactions, right?
Yeah.
They're like that third place that facilitates like I think kind of interesting connections. Like what you know, besides places to dangle your feet and have new experiences, what's a coffee shop to you in Chiang Mai?
You know, that's really interesting because as human beings, we're social creatures.
Yeah.
And so even though we can work at home, sometimes we enjoy working in collaborative environments, even if we're not necessarily working on the same project.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of knowledge that can be shared from people that are working close together. And so that's one thing that I've enjoyed in Chiang Mai is just having some of in the middle of projects, the downtime with people that just happen to be sitting around us.
Yeah.
And getting to know like where they're from, what they're studying, what they're working on. And then sometimes that sparks serendipity.
Yeah.
And like, wow, tell me more about that. And that may inspire further conversations that puts me on a different way.
Yeah.
I can say that there's many things that I've learned where it's like, you know, today I learned this.
Yeah.
And I've been in the planet for many decades.
Yeah.
And so I think we have that. It's a very important way of learning knowledge because it gets us out of our comfort zone.
Yeah, and it's something that, you don't have to formally go out and do. It just kind of happens in your everyday life here.
Absolutely. So, I mean, Chiang Mai offers a lot of co-working spaces and different types of environments that are providing those types of environments. There's a lot of meetups as well, and those are great places to meet innovative minds.
Yeah.
And then I wish my Thai language is better, so then I could integrate even more with the local Thai people because they're extremely innovative as well.
Yeah, taking different perspectives.
Absolutely.
The work that you do and the way that you're engaged with the community here, right? Like, what's your hope for Chiang Mai's like creative future? What do you hope that we can create here together? Yeah,
so Chiang Mai is an incredibly innovative space. It's always leapfrogging each other. And that's amazing, you know, and Chiang Mai has an ancient history which is revered, but it doesn't hold the evolution back. Some of the temples are 700 years old, and they give life to Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there's new innovation happening that are leaps and bounds, in things in robotics and things in automotive and things how to work with the environment in agriculture, for example. And so I see Chiang Mai it will continue to innovate and evolve. And I hope that our industry can join that conversation.
Yeah.
We can inspire others and be inspired by it. Maybe people will join our organization and maybe find new ways of using similar technologies.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how beautiful Chiang Mai works. Is we're not necessarily in competition from each other. We're all like it's a giant synergy that happens, and we all help each other out.
Yeah, we're just in this melting pot that is the city, just stewing and throwing around different ideas and just seeing what we can spit out.
Absolutely, and some of the best parts of that, happen in Design Week, but even after Design Week is done, there are incredible opportunities to just see more expressions of art and creativity pop up.
ช่วยแนะนำตัวเองแล้วก็โปรเจกต์ได้ไหมคะ
ชื่อคมสัน ชัยวงศ์ครับชื่อหมูใหญ่เล่นหมูใหญ่นะครับก็เป็น co-founder CM Town ครับเป็น digital agency ครับทำเรื่องdigital marketing แล้วก็ creative industry ในเชียงใหม่
ค่ะแล้วคุณหมูใหญ่เห็นว่าเชียงใหม่นี้มีโอกาสมี opportunity อะไรที่ marketing สามารถเสริมได้ไหมคะ
เยอะเลยครับเพราะว่าจริงๆเชียงใหม่มันในอดีตมันเป็นเหมือนศูนย์กลางการค้าของส่วนภาคเหนืออะไรเงี้ยแล้วก็เป็นเมืองอันดับ2ของประเทศไทยเนาะใหญ่อันดับ2ของประเทศไทยทีนี้เราก็จะมีการค้าขายนู่นนี่นั่นเยอะอะไรเงี้ยเพราะฉะนั้นก็จะมีธุรกิจอะไรอยู่เยอะแต่ว่าส่วนใหญ่มันจะเป็นไซส์เล็กถึงไซส์กลางแล้วก็ส่วนใหญ่แล้ว SME เหล่านี้จะขาดเรื่องของ Digital Marketing
ค่ะแล้วในโปรเจกต์ที่คุณหมีใหญ่ทำนี้มักจะเป็นโปรเจกต์ด้านไหนคะหรือว่าจะทำออกแบบเว็บหรือว่าจะเป็นวิดีโอแคมเปญหรือว่าแนวไหนคะ
ส่วนใหญ่เราก็ทำตั้งแต่ต้นจนถึงปลายเลยครับเพราะว่า SME ส่วนใหญ่เขาก็จะไม่ได้เริ่มทำอะไรเลยอะไรอย่างเงี้ยหรือว่าจะไม่รู้จักอะไรครับเราก็เริ่มใช่ให้เขารู้จัก Digital Marketing
CM Town สามารถเป็นพาร์ทเนอร์ตั้งแต่ต้นของโปรเจกต์จนถึง
ปลายเลยใช่แล้วให้เหมือนผมอยากให้เขาทดลองทำมากกว่าให้ลองดูว่ามันทำอะไรได้แล้วก็จะพัฒนาไปที่ทางไหนก็อยู่ที่เขาอีก
ค่ะแล้วการที่เราเรียกเชียงใหม่ว่าเป็น creative city ใช่ไหมคะเป็นเมืองสร้างสรรค์นะคะในความคิดเห็นหนูใหญ่คิดว่าคำนี้เมืองสร้างสรรค์มันคืออะไรคะมันมีความหมายอะไร
เมืองสร้างสรรค์มันคือการยังไงดีอะมันสามารถเกิดอะไรใหม่ๆเกิดขึ้นได้อะไรเงี้ยซึ่งเชียงใหม่ก็เหมาะครับเพราะว่ามันมีหลายชาติพันธุ์อะไรเงี้ยมาอยู่ร่วมกันที่นี่มันมีวัฒนธรรมที่เป็นเอกลักษณ์แล้วก็สิ่งเหล่านี้แหละครับมันทำให้เกิดความสร้างสรรค์ใหม่ๆเกิดขึ้นได้อะไรเงี้ยครับ
แล้วแบบเรามักจะคิดถึงเชียงใหม่เป็นแบบเมืองที่มีวัฒนธรรมเยอะใช่ไหมคะเป็น heritage city เรามี handicraft อะไรเยอะๆแต่เรื่องความสร้างสรรค์มันมีหลายแบบใช่ไหมคะสำหรับคนภายนอกที่เขาอาจจะไม่คุ้นเคยกับเชียงใหม่เห็นว่ามีอะไรที่มันเป็นแบบจุดเด่นของเชียงใหม่ที่แบบคนภายนอกอาจจะไม่เคยรู้ไหมคะในความสร้างสรรค์
จริงเรามีคนเก่งๆเยอะที่เป็นเชิงสร้างสรรค์เนาะแล้วก็แอบอยู่เต็มไปหมดอะไรเงี้ยบางคนก็คือทำงานสร้างสรรค์แล้วแต่ว่าเอาไปจำหน่ายที่อื่นอะไรเงี้ยเพราะว่าเมืองมันไม่ได้ไซส์ใหญ่ขนาดนั้นเลยอาจจะต้องส่งออกว่างั้นส่งออกทางความคิดความสร้างสรรค์ออกไป
ก็เลยการออกแบบการผลิตแล้วก็ทำได้ที่นี่แต่เขาอาจจะส่งไอเดียไป
ใช่แล้วถูก
ไปตลาดอื่นๆใช่ไหมคะ
ใช่
ก็เลยมันก็แปลว่าก็มีงานสำคัญสำหรับคนที่เก่งด้านมาร์เก็ตติ้งเพื่อที่จะช่วยแชร์พวกโปรเจกต์
ใช่แล้ว
ใช่ไหมคะ
เหมือนช่วย educate เมือง educate คนเลยเนาะแล้วก็ทำให้เขาโตขึ้น
ค่ะในงานของคุณหมุยใหญ่ก็หมุยใหญ่มักจะช่วยคนแชร์ข้อมูลใช่ไหมคะคุณก็เคยทำงานกับสเต็ปในการแบบ IT Directory แชร์ข้อมูลพยายามช่วยธุรกิจขนาดเล็กเพื่อที่จะใช้ Google Map ใช่ไหมคะในโปรเจกต์นี้ค่ะทำไมคุณถึงสนใจที่จะแชร์ข้อมูลแบบนี้แล้วก็ขยันทำโปรเจกต์นี้จัง
ผมรู้สึกว่าข้อมูลมันสำคัญมากๆมันเป็นเหมือนจุดเริ่มต้นแล้วก็สามารถต่อยอดไปเกิดความสร้างสรรค์อื่นๆได้ถ้าข้อมูลข้างล่างมันแน่นพอ
ค่ะนี่ก็เห็นด้วยอะค่ะตอนคนสามารถค้นหาข้อมูลในเขาสามารถเห็นจุดเริ่มต้นใช่ไหมคะถ้าเกิดเขาอยากจะสร้างอะไรมาใหม่หรือว่าอยากจะหาเพื่อนมาช่วยกันทำงานหรือว่าหาคนมารับจ้างใช่ไหมคะเขาต้องหามีแหล่งข้อมูล
ใช่ถูกต้องครับมันเหมือนไทยเราจริงๆมีข้อมูลเยอะแต่ว่ามันถูกกระจัดกระจายอะไรเงี้ยเราแค่แบบรวบรวมมันเข้ามาแล้วก็จัดหมวดหมู่อะไรเงี้ยครับ
สามารถแชร์ได้หรือเปล่าคะว่าแบบโปรเจกต์ตอนนี้ที่กำลังจะทำมีอะไรบ้างคะ
ตอนนี้ที่ทำอยู่ก็จะมีเชียงใหม่วีแคร์เชียงใหม่ฉันจะดูแลเธออันนี้ก็จะเป็นรวบรวมข้อมูลเมืองประเด็นต่างๆนะครับแล้วก็เอาข้อมูลเหล่านั้นมาเผยแพร่ให้ทุกคนรับรู้เลยครับเพื่อไปพัฒนาต่อแล้วก็อนาคตตอนนี้อยากทำเชียงใหม่แบรนดิ้งครับอยากทำแบรนดิ้งเมืองให้มันเสร็จก่อนโควิดเนี่ยครับ
เหรอคะช่วยอธิบายได้ไหมคะว่าแบบแบรนดิ้งเมืองนี่มันคืออะไร
แบรนดิ้งเมืองมันเป็นเหมือนการสื่อสารหลักของเมืองมันจะทำให้เหมือนคนอื่นเข้าใจเมืองเรามากขึ้นจดจำเมืองเราได้ง่ายขึ้นอะไรอย่างเงี้ยแล้วก็ทุกการสื่อสารที่ออกไปมันจะได้ดูเป็นเรา
ค่ะตอนเรานึกถึงแบรนดิ้งใช่ไหมคะหลายคนอาจจะคิดว่าโอเคนี่คือโลโก้ของแบรนด์นี่คือสีของแบรนด์ใช่ไหมคะแต่การที่เราจะสร้างแบรนด์ขึ้นมาจริงๆมันมีหลายอย่างมากกว่านี้ใช่ไหมคะช่วยแชร์ได้ไหมคะว่าแบบในความคิดเห็นของคุณแบบแบรนดิ้งมันคืออะไร
จริงๆแบรนดิ้งผมคิดว่ามันคือตัวตนของเมืองเพราะฉะนั้นตัวแบรนดิ้งมันต้องออกมาจากคนในเมืองจริงๆสีมันก็ต้องออกมาว่ามันเกิดจากอะไรทุกคนยอมรับในสีนี้ไหมทำไมต้องเป็นสีนี้มันเกี่ยวเรื่องอะไรกับเมืองเราอะไรครับ
ค่ะแล้วเราจะสร้างแบรนดิ้งด้วยกันได้ยังไง
ก็คิดว่าน่าจะใช้วิธีการของการออกแบบครับใช้ดีไซน์ thinking อะไรเงี้ยแล้วก็ใช้ข้อมูลจากคนต่างๆอาจจะมีการรวบรวมกลุ่มคนมาแสดงความคิดเห็นอะไรเงี้ยครับเพื่อพัฒนาการออกแบบ
ก็บอกคุณมือใหญ่ละคะแบบในอดีตคือคุณได้เรียนอะไรคะหรือว่าคุณเห็นว่าคุณเป็นคนมาจากฝั่งธุรกิจหรือว่าฝั่งสร้างสรรค์ค่ะ
จริงๆผมจบมีเดียอาร์ตตอนปริญญาโทเนาะซึ่งมีเดียอาร์ตผมเรียนเป็นสหศาสตร์มันเรียนครบทุกศาสตร์อยู่แล้วครับมันเรียนตั้งแต่ออกแบบสังคมศาสตร์แล้วก็เรียนธุรกิจด้วย
ค่ะ
เพราะว่ามันเกี่ยวเนื่องกันหมด
ค่ะแล้วตอนเรียนจบนี่รู้สึกว่าแบบพร้อมที่จะมีสกิลพอที่จะเข้าออกไป
เผชิญโลก
ไหมคะ
ตอนปริญญาโทพร้อมครับแต่ตอนปริญญาตรีไม่พร้อม
ก็เลยคุณต้องทำอะไรบ้างคะเพื่อที่จะแบบหาโอกาสที่จะเหมาะสมเพื่อที่จะเตรียมตัวเองที่จะเข้าไปทำงาน
ก็จริงๆเตรียมเยอะเหมือนกันจริงๆตอนเรียนปริญญาโทเปิดธุรกิจนึงแต่ว่าเจ๊งครับเพราะว่าขาดความรู้ด้านการเงินอะไรเงี้ยธุรกิจด้านการเงินแล้วก็ไปสะสมจากที่อื่นไปทำงานที่อื่นอะไรเงี้ยครับแล้วก็เริ่มจำอะไรเงี้ยเริ่มเรียนรู้แล้วก็มาเปิดอันใหม่ก็คือเทียมทาวน์
เพราะคุณหมุยใหญ่นี่ทำงานด้านมาร์เก็ตติ้งใช่ไหมคะแล้วมาร์เก็ตติ้งมันเป็นอินดัสทรีที่แบบเราต้องใช้เทคโนโลยีเราต้องใช้จินตนาการเราต้องหาไอเดียเราต้องพัฒนาตัวเองตลอดใช่ไหมคะก็เลยคุณเห็นว่าการที่จะพัฒนาตัวเองในเชียงใหม่นี่มันทำง่ายหรือเปล่าคะหรือว่าเราจะหาโอกาสใหม่พัฒนาตัวเองได้ยังไงบ้างคะ
ผมว่าปัจจุบันไม่ยากเหมือนแต่ก่อนแล้วเนื่องจากว่าเรามีอินเทอร์เน็ตอะไรอย่างเงี้ยเนาะแล้วก็มันเหมือนเราเป็น globalization เราเข้าถึงอะไรก็ได้ในโลกนี้ผ่านอินเทอร์เน็ตอะไรเงี้ยแล้วก็จริงๆเชียงใหม่เรามีคนที่เป็นต่างชาติก็เยอะซึ่งเราเรียนรู้จากคนเหล่านี้ได้เยอะเหมือนกัน
ค่ะเราก็แบบสามารถแชร์ไอเดียใช่ไหมคะเราก็เห็นว่าโอเคสิ่งที่เราเรียนมาเราสามารถนำเข้ามาใช้ในงานของเราได้ยังไง
ถูกต้องจริงๆคอมมูนิตี้ในเชียงใหม่ช่วยได้เยอะมากเหมือนเราไปเจอคนที่ เราไม่สนิทคุ้นเคยอะไรเงี้ยแล้วก็เขาอาจจะทำงานเชิงนี้อาจจะเก่งเรื่องนี้อะไรเงี้ยเราก็จะได้แนวคิดใหม่ๆจากคนละมุมมองมาพัฒนาได้
แล้วถ้าเกิดหนูอยากจะมองถึงแบบอนาคตของเชียงใหม่นี้คุณมีความหวังอะไรสำหรับชุมชน Creative Community ของเชียงใหม่ไหมคะ
ผมมีความคาดหวังว่าเชียงใหม่ในเชิงสร้างสรรค์นะอยากให้มันเป็นตลาดโลกมากกว่านี้
ค่ะ
คือตอนนี้คนเก่งนะครับแต่ว่าเขาอาจจะขาดเรื่องสกิลด้านดิจิตอลเลยแล้วก็ถ้าเขาผลิตของดีอยู่แล้วแต่แค่นำเสนอในเชิงดิจิตอลไม่ค่อยดีเท่าไหร่ถ้าเขาสามารถเอาของเหล่านี้แบบขายในโลกออนไลน์หรือขายไปต่างประเทศได้เยอะอะไรเงี้ยมันน่าจะทำให้เศรษฐกิจในเชียงใหม่มันอยู่ได้ดี
เราก็ต้องจ้างเซียมทำมาช่วยกันเนาะ
ใช่อาจจะต้องเรียนรู้กันไปครับ
ค่ะ
Let's get creative in Chiang Mai
Global Startup Hub CNX
อุตสาหกรรมสร้างสรรค์ในเชียงใหม่
Startup Thailand
with Artisan Society
เชียงใหม่ Creative City
NIA
Let's create the future together
Follow us on Facebook at Global Startup Hub Thailand, on YouTube at Startup Thailand, or visit us on the web at globalhub.startupthailand.org.